Hello, friends of the Real Supernatural Cases channel. Before we begin, don't forget to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Stay until the end, as the outcome of this story is truly amazing. Without further ado, let's dive into the world of suspense and mystery surrounding the story of a gravedigger who works in a cemetery where mysterious things happen. The story of this account is real, but the names of the city and people involved are fictitious to preserve the identity of those involved. The cemetery of Santo Antônio, located in the small town of Vale das Sombras, has always been surrounded by mysteries and urban legends. People in the town said that the place was haunted and avoided passing by it, especially at night. However, there was a man who was not afraid of the cemetery at all and actually worked there as a gravedigger. His name was Joaquim. Joaquim was a middle-aged man, with a serious and imposing appearance. He had worked in the cemetery of Santo Antônio for many years and was known to be a solitary and silent person. Joaquim lived in a small house at the back of the cemetery, and few people knew anything about his personal life. Although the townspeople respected Joaquim and his work, many of them believed that he was hiding something dark. Rumors circulated around the town that the gravedigger had a pact with the supernatural forces that inhabited the cemetery and that he was responsible for the strange phenomena that happened there. The stories about the cemetery of Santo Antônio and its gravedigger were diverse: bodies that disappeared from their graves, appearances of ghosts and shadows, as well as terrifying sounds that echoed through the dark nights. Some people even swore they had seen Joaquim himself talking to the dead in an unknown and scary language. Once, a young journalist named André arrived in the town of Vale das Sombras with the goal of unraveling the mysteries surrounding the cemetery and its gravedigger. He spent weeks interviewing residents and collecting information about the reported supernatural events. However, his investigations only left him with more questions than answers. André then decided that it was time to confront Joaquim and try to get answers directly from the source. He went to the cemetery on a cloudy and gloomy afternoon, finding the gravedigger busy with his work. Joaquim stared at him with his penetrating eyes and asked what he wanted. The journalist explained his interest in the mysteries of the cemetery and asked for Joaquim's help to solve them. Initially, the gravedigger was reluctant to talk about the subject, but after some time, he decided to tell his story. Joaquim revealed that years ago, he had lost his wife and daughter in a tragic accident. Devastated by grief and longing, he sought solace in ancient and occult books, hoping to find a way to communicate with his loved ones beyond. That was how he discovered an ancient ritual that supposedly allowed communication with the dead. Moved by hopelessness, Joaquim performed the ritual in the cemetery of Santo Antônio, without imagining the consequences it would bring. Although the ritual did not allow him to communicate with his wife and daughter, it ended up opening a portal to the other world, allowing spirits and dark forces to cross the barrier between the living and the dead. Since then, Joaquim took on the responsibility of taking care of the cemetery and trying to contain the supernatural manifestations that occurred there. He knew that, as a gravedigger, it was his mission to protect the living from the horrors he had unleashed himself. That's why he spent nights patrolling the cemetery and fighting the evil forces that tried to infiltrate the world of the living. André was impressed by Joaquim's story and decided to help him on his mission. Together, they began to research a way to close the portal and end the supernatural phenomena that plagued the cemetery of Santo Antônio. However, their search would lead them to face unimaginable dangers and discover even darker secrets. In their investigations, André and Joaquim discovered that the portal could only be closed through an ancient ritual that required a great sacrifice. They would have to face the supernatural forces that inhabited the cemetery and recover a mystical artifact known as the Key of Souls, which had been stolen by an evil spirit. Determined to fulfill their mission, André and Joaquim entered the cemetery on a stormy night. They faced terrifying apparitions and vengeful spirits, but with courage and determination, they managed to recover the Key of Souls and perform the ritual to close the portal. However, the sacrifice necessary to complete the ritual was something neither of them had anticipated. Joaquim, realizing that his life was connected to the cemetery and the supernatural forces that inhabited it, decided to offer himself as a sacrifice, hoping that this would seal the portal and protect the living from the shadows he had unleashed. With tears in his eyes, André accepted Joaquim's decision and performed the ritual, using the Key of Souls to close the portal. The cemetery of Santo Antônio was engulfed in a bright light, and then everything fell silent. The next day, the residents of Vale das Sombras woke up to find that the mysteries of the cemetery of Santo Antônio had disappeared. The shadows that once haunted the place were replaced by an inexplicable serenity. André reported the story of Joaquim and his heroic efforts to protect the city, and the Gravedigger was remembered as a true guardian of the world of the living and the dead. Over time, life in Vale das Sombras returned to normal, and the residents began to visit the cemetery without fear. They began to see the place as a symbol of hope and courage, instead of a dark and cursed place. André continued his journalistic investigations, dedicating his life to unraveling supernatural mysteries and sharing his discoveries with the world. In honor of Joaquim, he wrote a book telling the story of the Gravedigger and the cemetery of Santo Antônio, which became a bestseller and caught the attention of people interested in the supernatural all over the world. And so, Joaquim's legacy continued to inspire people to face their fears and fight for a world free from the shadows of evil. The cemetery of Santo Antônio became a place of peace and tranquility, and the memory of the Gravedigger who sacrificed his life to protect the living remained alive in the hearts of the residents of Vale das Sombras. On a full moon night, André visited Joaquim's grave in the cemetery of Santo Antônio. He thanked his friend for his courage and sacrifice and promised to continue the fight against the forces of evil. Then something surprising happened. A gentle breeze blew and, for a brief moment, André swore he heard Joaquim's voice whispering in his ear, thanking him and wishing him good luck in his adventures. The outcome of this story shows us that, even in the face of adversity, courage and friendship can triumph over the forces of evil. And that, no matter how dark a place may seem, there is always hope and light for those who are willing to face their fears and fight for the good. And so our impressive and emotional tale comes to an end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave your like and share it with friends. Stay tuned to the Real Supernatural Cases channel for more incredible stories like this. See you next time.